Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
And we get the back view of him. And I mean, it's just a mega.
52 yards is a long shot. Magnum PI, what we named him. No idea.
Just a magnum.
Yeah, just a magnum.
Come on cam last year, we said probably 150, mid 150.
Yeah.
Same doe from the morning come out with that 9-pointer.
Here steps out this 90-inch 8-pointer. You're like,
I'm like, okay, well, there's still a buck back there grunting.
Yeah.
And then out steps like another 90-inch 8-pointer. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm like, deer right there.
Yeah, like
and he's already
yards.
30 yards.
Yeah.
He was literally 5 yards from the base of the tree. Could have been, had a buck down at 1:40 in the afternoon, back there deep on public. 3 does come out pretty early. It was like 2:45, 24-yard shot, sent the combat veteran, and I tell you what, man, dude, it just smoked. We always get so jacked up when the other person kills. It's just almost like we got it done.
Yeah. And when you killed that doe, I was like, hell yeah, man.
And we come down here to Missouri.
I asked Homie one more time. I'm like, is it a good buck? And he goes, yeah, real good, solid buck. I'm like, all right, boom. And the deer just drops. Sure. Super special to me.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy. Baller Rut.
This is the Whitetail Legacy Podcast. This is a second try for this intro, like normal. We're coming at you with another legend of the woods. We got Sean from Team Radical talking about Thumper. You guys can watch this video at Team Radical. If you want to go to Team Radical after this episode, before this episode, watch it. He breaks down the hunt for this deer, and then we also get into some big buck tactics of how he's successful in some of these overlooked spots where he's been killing these absolute giants. Homie, help me out. Last 4 years, 3 in the 180s, 1 in the 170s.
And a 160.
And a 160, yeah, last 5 years. So, I mean, guy is absolutely low-key crushing giants. If you look at his Facebook page, you can see them all. Dude's got everything from main beam drops, flyers, palmation, like crazy, insane palmation.
It looks like deer from Alberta.
Yeah, just insane stuff. So this guy's getting it done. He's targeting one deer, and he's getting it done on these deer. So a lot of good information in this. It got us thinking about a couple of spots that we might get in and throw a cam and see what happens.
Yeah, we just throw a cam there.
As I said, just throw a cam somewhere. You never know. You're wasting one cam, like, okay, it's shit. I know that's shit now. I can go somewhere else.
Yeah, so, it just eases your curiosity.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the people that make this possible, and we'll get into the show. Start off with VIP. Hit him with the VIP, homie.
Yeah, VIP this week is starting to roll out production blades for the combat veterans. So if you have ordered a 3-pack of the combat veterans, you will be receiving your 440C stainless steel blades here real quick. So looking forward to that. And then obviously any combat veterans made from here on out will be the high-grade steel blades. If you want to get some of those, look them up at veteranip.com.
All right, you got the VIP Veteran Broadhead shout out.
Yeah, this week's shout out is Craig Parker. He's currently serving in the Marines as we speak, and he's an avid listener of the show. I think a couple episodes ago we had mentioned just being a solid guy out there, and not one to shout their own self out. But Craig did. He said he heard that, and he's like, I'm just gonna send it in, and I'm glad he did. So got to talk to him for a little bit about his service. So Craig, we appreciate you first for signing up for the Marines, and 2 for also building up the courage to send in your shout out, man.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. Like we say, most people out, military, active or veterans, they don't want the shout out. Like, I didn't do nothing. I'm not a hero. But to us, man, you guys are. You did a lot for us, for our families. I try to teach my kids. If I see a veteran hat, I said, hey, that guy, he's a veteran. He served in the Army. And I'm trying to explain that to them because when they grow up, I want them to have the respect that I do for people that have done that. And I feel like starting them young, I want them to, like, remember me as, like, oh, shit, this guy's got a hat. You know what I mean? Like, this guy, this guy's served, he's in the uniform or whatever. Give him some respect. And I appreciate you, serving this country, serving me and my family, keeping us safe, and everything they do from the Whitetail Legacy podcast crew and the VIP family. Let's get into ECW calls. All your custom call needs: turkey, box, slate, grunt tubes. We're still rocking the grunt tubes. I haven't got Rayners out in a while. He's probably wondering what that thing is. He probably forgot about it now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's in the shadow box, so he got the crow call today. Holy smokes.
Oh,
in
I bet
the
he's
car.
ripping on that.
In the car.
In the car?
Oh, it was brutal.
That's a terrible idea.
I got like a mile and a half from my grandma, from daycare,
Yeah.
grandma's house to home. Thank God, because that was brutal. I was like, don't blow it so loud. You know, he's just,
You had the car full of kids?
just ripping.
Yeah.
Just,
Bladen can't hear nothing.
No, nothing. All right, Exodus trail cams. You got Exodus?
Yeah, kind of getting into the spring and summer tip. I know some people are starting to get the cams back out after pulling them for the winter. One thing that Cody and I have had some problem with is ants or, bugs getting in there and really doing some damage on a camera. So tip of the week from Exodus here is ant protection. You can spray permethrin. They recommend spraying it on the straps and on the top of the tree or that first crotch there. And then you can also put some ant killer inside the door with the way that their doors fold down like that. Chad was putting some in there on the tray and then closing it. So, but you have to remember to take the ant killer every time because when you get down there, you're probably going to forget and you're going to spill it when you open your camera up.
Yeah.
So, if you can, that's a good way to prevent some damage and extend the life of your camera.
Another thing I will say is if you do go out there and you find a tree that has ants that your camera's messing, don't clear the ants out and put it back on that tree. Because even if you think all the ants are gone, like, oh, there's no ants on this tree, it must have been just some freak. No, man, if you move that cam 3 trees over, you might be good. But don't leave it on that same tree because I've done that. And then another thing, if they have a place to hook up USB or something and they have that rubber cap, make sure that rubber cap's there. Small details like that. If not, run a piece of tape over it or something to keep them from getting in. They will absolutely destroy. And it's real solid if it's hooked to a mobile cam because then you get about 80,000 pictures and it's just ants going across the screen. You know what I mean? And you just get like a little black blur. You're like, what the heck is going on? You got to go out there and it's just covered in ants. So,
yeah. Been there.
Yeah, been there. All right, let's get into Ingram's Outdoor Obsession, all your taxidermy needs. Guys ripping through the buck mounts. Hopefully we get to take him another legend this year. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
We got our eyes on one that's going to be legendary. He's probably got killed on the private ground to the
2
south.
or maybe 3.
Yeah, but...
Oh, you're already talking about the private ground one.
Yeah. But
that's good. We have to talk about. Well, which one are you talking about?
Yeah, which one are you talking about? So, all your taxidermy needs, Ingram's Outdoor Obsession. He's got your hookup for all local guys out there. Give him a shot. Guys putting out top quality mounts at a reasonable working man's price. You got Next Level?
Yeah, this week we're going to highlight Next Level Deer Supplements pelleted feed. They have 5 protein sources to satisfy bacteria in the rumen. 22 to 24% protein content formulated with only the highest bioavailable ingredients. This pelleted feed meets not only the nutritional needs of bucks growing antlers and lactating does, but more importantly, it meets the demands of new fawns when they begin eating solid foods. So that's very good for the new dropping fawns that are going to be coming here within the next month or so. This pelleted feed has additives that help the animals cope with heat during the summer, helps their blood flow, and do some research there on that rumen. They talked about that when they come on the show. So
we're both wearing Next Level Deer supplement shirts
are you?
tonight.
Yeah, you're not?
Yeah, I'm wearing the black and pink.
Oh,
one.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm rocking the white.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, but yeah, shout out Next Level. One thing I really like about them, man, they really dug into the science behind everything, and they think about everything. They're not even thinking about growing inches. They're thinking about better fawns. You have a fawn button buck. They want that fawn button buck to be tip-top shape to where, he might be a basket 8 as a year and a half. He just got that genetic jump, when you start feeding this stuff. So they're thinking about heat in the summer, the room oil. I mean, they're digging in and trying to give you the best that they can, and they're not hyping it up to insane prices like a lot of, other feed companies. It's reasonable priced, and you know that it's doing solid work out there.
Yeah, and if you talk to Nate and Scott, if you message them with a question or something, they're going to talk about not just starting a program now. They're going to talk about it, starting in January and then, throughout the rut and then going into late summer. It's going to be a year-round deal, and that's how you really help your herd be healthy as possible.
Yeah, that's like we say on here a lot. If you guys do have a question, you could reach out to us. We can get the answers for you. We might know it, but we'll probably have to get the answers for everybody when it gets into the scientific stuff. But you can reach out to Next Level on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Scott or Nate's going to answer you. Just a couple normal, solid guys. And you're going to get to hear a mountain lion hunt from Scott himself coming up next episode. We're going to do it next episode?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, all right. I just spilled that right on his face. All right, we got Sean McCrory on from Missouri. How you doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Another cold call messages. It's hard to look away from your Facebook page and not see those just ultimate legends on there. I was like, just pick one. You got too many to choose. I'll just let you pick one. So we're excited to have you on. Like we talked a little earlier, I know we're going to learn some stuff, and just go ahead and give the listeners a brief introduction of who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, I'm Sean McCrory, member of Team Radical. You can see some of my videos on there on our YouTube page. Hunt Missouri pretty much exclusively for whitetails. Dabbled a little bit in Nebraska with almost no success. But as far as Missouri goes, I've kind of got a plan that seems to work. In the last 6 years, I've killed 3 deer in the 180s, 1 in the high 170s, and several 160s. Basically doing it on the cheapest plan possible while still hunting some private ground. Personally, we own 400 acres. Everything else that I hunt is basically permission ground. Chase after deer on properties that are from 500 acres to 4 acres. Anything I can get a hold of that, if a buddy owns 4 acres that has a little corner of woodlot, I'm going to throw a mineral sight and a trail camera on it in the summertime. If you're hunting deer that are like trophy, huge deer, your 400 acre piece, unless you're in like the most prime place in the country, is not going to hold 170, 180 inch deer every single year. So if that's the deer you're going after, you're just going to have to spread out. And that's just kind of the plan that I attack going into the season. I'm guessing today I'm going to talk about a buck that I killed last year in 2019, Thumper.
Yeah, we want to hear the story of Thumper. We're going to put you on the Legend series. Like I said, you got a bunch of legends to choose from. I'm excited to hear this. Got a lot of unique characteristics. You said you got a lot of history. I see on your Facebook page there you had a couple years trail cam history with them and stuff. So we love these stories. Like I said, we learn a lot. And I got a question. Does it ever get old, like walking up on a 180? Like the third at 180, you're like,
Oh, yeah, you get absolutely sick of it. I mean,
I'm sure you just get so tired of dragging them big ones out. You're like, man, I just need to shoot a 6-pointer. It'd be so easier to get this thing out.
Being a grown man and crying and on a camera is it's humbling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been there. We've all been.
Yeah.
Me and homie's been there. We've been known to cry over a deer every now and then, It's just,
oh, man. It
wrecks
it
you.
seems dumb to think about it, but, I mean, you go into these woods every single day chasing after just one deer and thinking, my girlfriend will tell you that during the months of September through August through November, there is nothing I talk about more than the one deer that I'm after. And like the second you harvest that deer, that whole thing is over. I mean, all your planning, all your hard work that you've done, like that woods is empty after that happens. So yeah, I mean, I think that ties into most of the emotions of hunting deer like that.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing too. Luckily, they repopulate, and if you can get on another big one every year, imagine if there was only like 6 giants out there, and that's all you had. You know what I mean? So
there's so few and far between, though. It seems like.
Yeah, the giant ones. We cover a lot of ground. We run a lot of trail cams, and we say around us, me and homie, we think 130, 140, good buck. A lot of them around 150s, good bucks. You get in the 160, 170 range, you're getting pretty slim. You get above that 170 range, might be 2. You might 2 or 3. And there, even if you look at like the number harvested in that range, or just people that are hardcore hunters, and they might send you some trail cam pics. Like the biggest buck they're sending is a 160.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, man, I find 100 sheds a year, almost every year, and I've only got 1 or 2 maybe out of close to 1,000 sheds that would score in the 160s, 170s. I mean, that's how few they are that make it actually through deer season. I mean, when with those kind of odds, you really got to spread your wings out.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Saying earlier, if you're hunting a 400-acre farm, you're not going to have a 170-inch deer there every year, unless you're maybe in the heart of Iowa where everybody manages to the T. But here in Missouri, we've got 425 acres of ground that is prime habitat that I do everything in my power to make as good as it can get. And every 4 to 5 years, I may have a deer there that I really want to hunt. I mean, that's how rare they are. But, if you spread out and you're running cameras on 10, 12-acre pieces that your buddy owns that he doesn't hunt, it's amazing actually how many big bucks you get on those little tiny pieces.
Yeah, that's something we've learned is, the right 10 acres is, the money spot.
We've said that 100 times on here.
Yeah.
If you could pick up another sliver of timber that's on a fence line or something, pick it up and put a trail cam.
100% true.
Yeah.
It's dumb, but I've read enough North American whitetail since I've been 10 years old to know that giant bucks come off a small piece of the property in the right spot.
You always see the kid that's 9 years old.
Yeah.
That his dad was like, go hunt this little piece over here. That's a good spot. And he's like, that kid ain't gonna see shit. And then he shoots a 190. You know what I mean?
It's stupid how often that's the case.
Yeah.
You almost can't ignore it to the fact where, if you have 10 acres that sits in the middle of 2,000-acre pieces, and you can put a strategic little food source in there. I don't care if it's a quarter acre. If you can get 180 to walk through there once or twice a season, if you get one picture of them in the summer,
you won.
If you're there at the right time, your odds of killing 180 on a 10-acre piece where there's a 180-inch deer there is 1,000 times better than killing 180 on a 400-acre piece where there isn't one within 10 miles.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've said that a lot, man. Those small pieces, it just feels like people it's 50 and under. That's what it feels like. Oh, it's not bigger than 50 acres. It ain't even worth messing around with. You know what I mean? But we're always looking for that 25, that 15, that 40, anything.
Just in the right spot.
Yep.
If it's there and everything around it looks good, there's no reason that there won't be a big deer there.
We know the general area that we like to hunt. We know the general area where the big deer are. There's 2 central blocks, and then there's a gap where it's decent, and then it turns good again, and we just try to get around them 2 good areas as close as we can, and that's how we play the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and here in Missouri, we're able to use minerals. So, in September, August, if you got a mineral site, you pretty well will catch whatever's in their summer range within a mile of there eventually during those months. And so if a big deer is in that area in September, August, chances are at some point during November, he's going to cross through there again, especially if you got a core doe group that hangs out there. If you can keep a few does eating in your little oat plot that cost you $20 to burn off a field and broadcast some oats, eventually that buck's going to be there again. And you just got to be lucky enough to be there when he's there.
Yeah, homie killed a buck off an oat field that we just hand broadcasted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a low key tip right there. If you got something that they love those oats, man. They were picking the oats over everything there for a while. So
if you got a standing bean field that is going to be harvested, take a hand broadcaster with mixture of rye and oats in it, and just broadcast it into the standing beans. It won't come up tall enough to affect the harvest until after they've harvested, and will grow into December, and the deer just hammer it.
that's what we need to do.
They
Do the
have
whole
the choice
plot.
to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they have a choice to eat beans or beans and rye and oats, they're going to choose the beans and rye and oats. I mean, they got a variety there. It's just so easy to do, and everybody overlooks it. It's just, I mean, you can buy some bin oats from the feed store for $5 a 50-pound bag,
Yeah.
and enhance the food plot by tenfold.
I'm saying it's that green,
Yeah.
like they just want that green.
They just want that green,
fresh.
tender, fresh green. We have does out there
Yeah,
you got to
and
scare
if you're
off to
mixing
get
in
out.
beans with it, I mean, you got the variety, everything they want in one spot.
Yeah, that's what we did. We did beans with oats on the top, but we kind of did it on the bottom and the top. We should have just done the whole plot.
Yeah, we didn't think. Well, we were just trying to fill it in, is what
Yeah.
we were trying to do, and I mean,
Well,
it worked
something
good
like
on
that,
top.
If you have a key stand that you like to hunt, like just do the oats around that stand so they kind of key in your area that you're planning on being. Like,
Yeah, I think we should just do the whole top oats. Kind of get closer to that where we pack in hunt. Do that all oaks around that corner, just kind of like we did last year, but a little bigger.
Right.
And yeah, that's a great tip. But all right, well, we're gonna kind of talk about how you target a buck throughout the whole entire year from the beginning to end, and we're gonna revolve that story around Thumper. So just go ahead and take off wherever you want to start, and we're gonna stop talking and listen.
All right. Well, in going into 2019, I had a buck in mind that I was chasing going into late season of 2018. He's a buck I called Longmire. Big mainframe 10, probably mid 170s to 180s. Deer was just, I mean, perfect 10, no trash, no nothing. The deer was very elusive come late season. He didn't show up till December. So going into 2019, I thought that deer would still be there because we had all the food, all the cover, everything that he'd want and need. But as a lot of times it goes, he wasn't there. All summer long, we never got a picture of him. But I run some cameras all the way through the season, through turkey season to, the end of the rut. And I pick up a buck that in July that had just mega growth coming on. Heavy bases, huge brow tines, starting G2s, and just knew he was going to be big. It wasn't long before he started growing everything out, and I knew immediately what deer he was. Buck that I'd called Thumper for the last 3 years. Thumper going into that year, before that year, was just a mainframe 8 that honestly didn't show any kind of potential. He was wide, had fairly tall tines, and a couple split brows, and just never really showed up on anybody's radar. My dad had missed him in 2017, and 2018 he showed up a handful of times on camera. Just never really piqued my interest. But 2019, he threw on some huge palmation, like this big duck foot on the end of his antlers, and he caught my attention immediately. And I pulled almost all my cameras off of some of my other farms and threw them all onto my home farm where he was at. And once he grew out all the way, he was just an absolute mega giant. My girlfriend and I went out and filmed him in Velvet in late August. Got some awesome footage of him. And after that, he flat disappeared. Never got a picture of him again until I think it was October 25th, right before my rut vacation started. And I'd already respread out my cameras looking for another big one, kind of was on one. And he showed up on one of my cell cameras and I completely rerouted everything I was doing that season, moved all my stands into one spot, and started hunting them. And Thumper was a deer, and a lot of the bucks that I've hunted have been like deer that I could strategize on, move my stands, like make new plans on him. And Thumper was a deer that only, when he'd come onto my farm, he used about 100 yards of my fence line, and he never traveled past that. So honestly, I had one stand location that I thought I could ever hunt him out of and have any kind of success. So basically for 18 days straight, I sat in the same stand all day long, day in, day out. On the morning of, I think it was November 11th, my girlfriend and I went out. The temperatures were like 0 with a wind chill of -10. And I put her in a ground blind where the bucks that she was hunting, buck that I call Showtime, beautiful 7x7. He was showing up, put her there with a heater. I moved myself into this little tiny hang-on stand, and about 9 o'clock, Thumper came out and actually bred a doe in front of me. I got 5 to 10 minutes of footage of him breeding this doe, and at that point, I called her. I said, "Babe, I'm going to be in the stand all day long." I don't think the temperatures ever got above 0 for a wind chill that day, and sat in that stand from daylight till dark, and I saw him breed that doe and never came back out again. And for like 4 hunts after that, I'd lay eyes on him, and then gun season rolled around. He disappeared for 4 or 5 days. Pretty much assumed him dead. I called all the neighbors. Nobody'd seen him or shot him, but the Missouri gun season, you start getting pressure and pushing them around. They can travel miles. But on the morning of November 22nd, I was walking up the logging road to the same stand I've been hunting every single day during that vacation, and I feel a buzz in my pocket. And at that time in the morning, nobody's texting me, nobody's calling me. It's a cell cam pic. So I pull up my phone, look at it. It's Thumper, and he's standing 40 yards from my stand at that point. So I kind of hang back in the woods. I got another picture of him going back into the timber. I take this huge loop around. I spooked almost every other deer on the farm, but I knew I wasn't spooking him. Climb into the backside of my deer stand, sit there, and didn't see a deer until about 9 o'clock. And I look up after texting on my phone. I think I was complaining about not seeing anything. And look up, and there's Thumper standing there at about 75 yards, and with a rifle. That's a little short poke. Got the camera focused on him, put the crosshairs on him, and pulled the trigger, and then the waterworks commenced. that deer tore me up inside, and it's kind of amazing how just one whitetail, something that you've dreamed about every hour of every day, can just rip you to pieces inside whenever it's all over with. I don't know if it's joy, sadness, both, but wave of emotions went over me through that. And that as an adult, I don't think there's nothing that excites you like, your kid at Christmas or anything like that. But whenever a huge whitetail, something that you've dreamed about that long, steps out in front of you and you finally capitalize, there ain't nothing in the world like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're up there, man. I mean, we're both dads, but I mean, it's just something like you said. You just, even if you're not thinking about a particular buck, you're sitting there, and I guarantee you, everybody listening to this podcast right now has been like, Giant's going to come over that hill right there. He's going to walk down here 25 yards. I'm going to shoot him. You just imagine it in your head, you know what I mean? You're like, he's probably going to have a drop time. Yeah.
It's perfect when it finally happens. I mean, we do everything we can do to try to put ourselves in the best position possible, but like ultimately it's got to happen for you, or else, I mean, if you don't have the time to invest in it, you're kind of at the mercy of just hoping it happens. And there's so many other people out there. Like after I killed him, talking to my neighbors, like everybody was like, that was the buck that they were after. Like, I'm not shooting anything but him. And like, you realize your odds of actually killing that deer so low due to that. And like that deer hunt, the way he never, I mean, most deer I hunt, like I've got a pretty good core range of ground that I can hunt. Like I can strategize on them. Like I was saying, like I can move my stand. Like this is where he's bedding at. I can move closer in on this deer. This deer would only barely cross my fence line, and like just that's where he would go. He would
just tease
feed
you
in the beans, and he would cross back over and be eating or bedding on the neighbors. Like, and they were hunting like very, very close to his core area, and it just ended up working out for me, which I guess pretty fortunate for that.
Just like we were talking at the beginning, you know, the limited amount of actual 170, 180 inch deer that are out there, you combine that with, you know, an ass load of hard work and time. Like when you get it done, you know, just all that comes to a point, and it's weird, like crying happy. It's weird because it's literally just like overpowering. You can't hold it back, and it just comes over you, and you know, then it's all coming out at once, and you don't know what to do.
It's like it's a combination of like happiness, sadness, and a little bit of just like a relief, like there it is, like everything came together.
Yeah, like I hope everybody listening gets the opportunity to find a deer that is like their deer. Like, you know, that's the deer they're destined to shoot, but they got to put in, you know, 250 hours in the stand to get it done. That's all they can talk about. Just like you said, from August on. Cody, it was May on when found Mr. Freeze's sheds. So just all that time just building up to that moment is just going on and on and on. And, you know, just like you were saying, you're probably texting about not seeing any damn deer, and next thing you know, there he is. And like, just when you think it's not
exactly
going to
what I was
happen,
doing.
yeah, you're just like, well, I'm a dumbass. I just patched a, you know, a really solid 8-pointer.
Yeah, I was, you know, right before I shot my Mega Giant, I'm texting homie. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I cannot. And it was the same kind of deal. You know, the deer was just barely touching the property, and we knew where we needed to be. We needed to be where homie was or I was. That's the only place we ever got pictures of him, even where remotely close to daylight. The only 2 solid pinches on the property, and it was just a roll of dice of who got it done. But, like, I literally texted him 10 minutes before I shot him, like, what am I doing wrong? I don't understand it. I got all this time invested, you know, 3 years, and then boom, it happens. And I was basically like, I'm a dumbass. I cannot kill this deer. Like, I literally cannot kill this deer. You know, I just don't understand what, you know, why I can't. And then, you know, boom, it happens. Like you said, you just get a flood of emotion that's uncontrollable. And
I didn't even kill the damn deer, and
Yeah.
I was tore up.
you're like Ricky Bobby out there. You're like, I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm just jacked right now.
Yeah, I've got like a core group of like 3 or 4 friends, and like I talk like endlessly about this deer with them, like trying to strategize with them. And one of my buddies, he's like, dude, you know what you got to do? You just got to sit that stand. Like anytime you got to win to hunt it, you got to be there. Like, you know, that's the stand you're going to kill him out of. Anytime he shows up on camera, it's at that stand. And sitting one spot for that many days in a row is just like you beating your head against the wall.
No, that's brutal. Did you see any blue herrings when you were hunting? Homie's got a blue a lot of wood ducks. Homie's got a blue herring curse. If we see a blue herring while we're hunting, we ain't killing anything. It's just the known fact. We seen one turkey hunting on Sunday. I was like, we're done. Pack it up. Shit's over.
Go home.
Got us a few extra gobbles, but that was about it.
Yeah. That's a low-key gobble locator. Blue herring, screech. They were racking on that thing.
About 9:30,
Man,
dude. Look
yeah.
out.
Oh,
Like I was seeing, I had 2 or 3 bucks last year on my farm that were 150s, 160s class, and they were tempting me on a daily basis coming out in front of
God.
me.
That'd be tough for
Like
me.
this buck that my girlfriend Stormy was hunting, and it's Showtime. He's a mainframe 6x6 with a couple inside points that make him a 7x7. He looks like a typical 7x7, and this deer parades in front of me like every time I hunt. Like I take her with me to shoot this deer, he doesn't show. I put her in a different stand where I'm getting selfie and pictures of him. He shows where I'm at. Like that deer eluded us hard.
It's
but
tempting you,
we got
man.
his shed horns. We got his shed horns, and he is going to be an absolute mega giant this year.
Man,
I think he was just 4 last year as a 7x7.
Oh,
like
God.
he's got everything that a person could ever want in a deer. I told her that I'd let him walk, and I hope that I can for her, but
It's gonna be tough.
when push comes to shove and you get a deer that size in front of you next year, I don't know if I'm gonna
Yeah, I don't know. Be like, babe, I thought it was a different deer. Shit. I thought it was some
I
rando
love
come
her.
through.
I really do. I really love her, but gosh, I don't know.
Yeah,
about
I don't know.
that.
Like, I thought it was some rando that came through. It had a drop
Yeah.
time, but it must have broken off when it was running.
Yeah, he's gonna be something special. I hope he shows up for it, because I've got hours of footage of that deer.
Nice.
Man, that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Was there ever a time like in those 18 days that you hunted, like you just felt, super defeated and you're just like, I'm just going to start hunting a different deer, or just since you've been, picking a deer, maybe these last 5-6 years, like that's just kind of what you come to expect from hunting that way?
Super defeated. I felt that way in September.
When he was gone?
Like, when he quit showing up, like I was down, like in the dumps. Like, oh man, like in 2018, I never really had a deer until December to hunt. But did I ever, like, during the 18 days that once he showed back up on our property, I never thought about another deer. I didn't check any other trail cameras other than that property. I had one buck on a 10-acre piece that was pretty easy in the 170s that was daily showing up on cell camera, and I never even tried to hunt that deer. Like once Thumper was like back on my radar, like I never wavered off that stand, really.
I think
At
that
least
could
that
be.
field.
I think that could be a huge tactic, because if you think about hunting Magnum, and you put your sole year into just hunting the area that you know he was, and you never hunted a different area when you had the wind, the opportunities you to kill that deer is
It goes up.
so much higher. You know what I mean?
It goes so good because you learn so much more about that deer.
You might
you don't
see
think
him a
about
couple
another
times.
deer, like if you, I mean, just because you almost at that point you just zone in. I don't know if it's like Mr. Miyagi stuff or what, but like you almost get in that deer's head.
Yeah, you
A
got
buck that
every
I hunted
cam
in my-
pulled. You got every cam back there where he's at. You know, you're focusing all in
Yeah.
that area. When we're focusing on 3 or 4 different pieces, areas, and
5-6 different deer.
yeah.
But I just feel like
Buck,
when you see that deer, you learn so much from actually seeing it, and we're getting close to that. Switching our trail cams to video mode and such. It's just not the same as seeing that deer from the stand at 50, 100, 120 if you're on a field edge or something. I just feel like seeing that deer before a couple hunts or something, or seeing him in October and, you kill him in November, just that time to view what he's doing or how he's acting or something. I just feel like you can pick up something that can give you that edge.
you catch demeanor, the way he carries himself, the way he reacts to other bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot about it, and like just the way he travels the field. Like when I watched him breed that doe, there were three other deer in the field that were blowing at me while this was all going on. He didn't care one bit about it. Standing out in the middle of the wide open breeding that doe. And any buck coming near him, he like did everything he could to veer that doe away from him. He wasn't trying to fight. He was trying to avoid any other bucks. And he was very, very solitary. Like he didn't run with any other deer. There was like a 4 or 5 day in a row span where I was seeing him almost every single hunt. And he stayed in this little, like, it couldn't have been a 1/4 acre patch of timber that was in the middle of a huge cow pasture, like that was over on the neighboring property. And he had 2 or 3 does in there every single day. And if a buck come near it, he would do his best to run them off. But if like they come in there with him, he'd just take his does and go elsewhere. He wouldn't try to fight them. Like he never was real aggressive with them.
Yeah, see, like there, rattling's not going to do shit. You're just like that,
nothing.
But if he's
you
out there,
run at him, he's going to turn around and like try to avoid any kind of confrontation.
Yeah, exactly. And see, I think that's valuable information.
It is super valuable. You know what I mean? But I still feel like there's something you when you see that deer. It's funny to say, but like when you get a trail cam picture, he's out there, but he's still like a mythical creature. You know what I mean? Like you get a couple trail cam pictures, 3, 4, you're like, okay, yeah, he's here. But when you see him, then it's real. You're like, okay, I almost got it done. Now it's real. Like now,
this is an actual deer.
Yeah, I'm in. He's actually in this area. This just wasn't like a fluke picture or two. And I still don't know if I could do 18 days straight in a stand, man. Props to you. That is brutal. So
mind-numbing is what it is.
Yeah.
But like once I started seeing them in that little patch of timber, I realized like a ton from it, because the way I was accessing that stand, basically ever since I've been a kid, like hunting that farm, there's a gravel road access where I can actually cut through that cow pasture property. I can't hunt it, but I got an easement in through that property. And where I cut through there, he could watch me walk from my truck all the way into where I climbed into my stand from that spot. Like, and he could see 500 to 1,000 yards in every single direction from that spot. And like, when I realized that, like, it was a morning hunt where I'd hunted all day and I'd seen him in there. Like, he didn't see me come in the darkness. So from that point forward, I ended up started walking through the main bedding area of my farm every single hunt, like pushing every single other deer off my farm to get into the stand to hunt this deer. But the only deer I wasn't spooking was him every single day. And then ultimately, like, hunting at 18 days, I never really felt like I was pressuring him at all, because he was, at arm's length. I knew where he was at, and he had no idea that I was approaching him from that direction. Every other deer on the farm did. My dad was like getting very sick of me pushing all the deer away. But
well, you got to do what you got to do.
Once I had him down, he was pretty understanding about it.
It seems like those bucks love those little hidden crevices that, you wouldn't think they'd be in, and especially during the rut, they push a doe in there, and in your mind, you're always sitting there like, oh, that buck's going to come back out with this doe, and I'm going to get them. But it seems like once they're in there, they just stay.
Mm-hmm.
When they get in lockdown, those mature bucks, like older, like 5, 6, 7-year-old deer, they don't like to fight anymore. In my opinion, they like to get in those little hideaway spots that they're not going to have 20 bucks roll through a day. Like, if you're in a spot during like the 15th through the 20th of November and you're seeing 10, 15 bucks a day, and chances are that big buck's somewhere else where he's all by himself. Like, he doesn't want a lot of competition to mess with his 5 or 6 does that he's got locked down, or 1 doe that he's got locked down. They like to be alone. At their age, they don't want to fight anymore. They just want to, they want to love.
Yeah, that's something we're seeing, is, you're probably going to see a bunch of them smaller deer at that time. And then, that last weekend of November, you'll see them bigger deer out running, looking for them last few does.
Once they break off that lockdown phase, then
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite times to kill deer.
A lot of
For the
times we'll
gun, my
hunt.
favorite time is when they're locked down.
A lot of times we'll hunt. We'll be like, this is a spot we ain't gonna see a lot of deer,
Mm-hmm.
but we're gonna see the right deer. And you can just tell those spots where
Absolutely.
you're not gonna see a ton of
100%
deer,
true.
but you're gonna see if something comes through, it's gonna be the right deer. You know what I mean? Or a right deer. It's just like a buck that it's not on a main doe trail. It's like on a edge on the downwind side of a doe bedding where there's just like a slight trail. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to see a lot of deer here, but if it is, it's going to be a shooter.
If you got like a half-acre patch of timber that's got a water source in it during that lockdown phase, you can almost guarantee that there's a mature buck at some point that's using it to lock down does. Like, they don't need food, but they have to have water and they have to have cover, and they want to be as secluded as humanly possible, or humanly possible, however you want to say it. But like, that's what I key in on that time of year. It's like little secluded patches of timber that you wouldn't hunt any other time of year. That's where the big bucks go during when they lock those down.
Yeah, you see that. We see that a lot here. We'll see bucks just out in the middle of a field, and there'd be a fence line with 4 trees on it, and there's just a mega rack laying out there with a doe. You know what I mean? Like, that deer ain't moving for 2 days. Like, if that's your target buck, you can just glass him all you want, but he's out there. You know what I mean? So
two of my 180s and one of my 170s all came out of like patches of timber like that. It's like, it's insane how like much of a draw something like that is. The one buck came out of a patch of timber that the only water source on it, and I found it in September, was where the farmer had pushed in a cow had died, and he pushed it in, like buried it with a dozer, and left a little indention in the ground, and the water collected there, and that's where I had a trail camera over that, and I was getting constant pictures of giant deer, big deer on that little bitty tiny water source right there, for whatever reason. And then like I remembered that, and on the Friday of Missouri's gun season, I'd gotten a picture of the buck that I was after, the buck that I call Kickstand. He was like 186-inch mainframe 10. And I got a picture of him in that area, and I hunted a stand that was kind of overlooking that little, it probably wasn't a quarter-acre patch of timber with that little watering hole in it. And about 7 o'clock that morning, he came out and to get a drink out of that little watering hole, and I was waiting there for him.
But if you think about it, like these little patches of timber, everybody's walking by it. Nobody's going in there. They're just all walking by it, going to the big timber, going to a field edge somewhere, and just going right by these little patches of timber. And the deer feel safe there because nobody's ever stepped foot inside there.
Yeah, and the little bucks and younger bucks they're not going there because there's no reason for them to. Most of the year, there's no does in there. So why are they going to go look in there? But the bucks are in there locked down with a couple does, so they don't have to compete. It
makes me think of that square that we found this year on that King's field.
Well, it was just like 2 years ago when you found them sheds, like just a little finger draw, just boom, right there.
Mm-hmm. It's nothing.
It's definitely something to key in on in that late November time of year.
You know that square I'm talking about on King's field that we walked this year where you're looking for your buck? Water source.
Oh.
The real thick stuff. That'd be a perfect place to push a doe that no one's going to look into.
Down by the corner?
Yeah. Be a real good place to push a doe. If anything, during shotgun season, might be push that piece out.
Oh, down by the road.
Very down by the road.
Okay, yeah.
And if you get in a spot to overlook it with a gun, you're in a hunting hole.
Yeah.
I'd say by then it should be cleared out. You'd be able to glass in there and.
Yeah, we found a spot looking for his buck this year. It's probably a 5-acre piece. There's water in it, and I think about 70% of the trees had fallen.
Yeah. A lot of down stuff.
A lot of down stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like a key piece of ground right there.
Yeah.
And all our bucks disappear, but then they pop back on camera, in a day. We have no idea. A couple of days, we have no idea where they go, and it might be where they're going.
They don't move much during that late November time, but if you know where they're going to be or have a pretty good idea where they're going to be, you just got to be there when they pop out. And there's no time limit on it. It could be noon. It could be.
We could probably get that too.
First thing in the morning.
We already have that.
Well, kind of. We have the north corner, but we don't have the south timber.
It's the same block.
It is the same block. Yeah, I just have to ask to make sure.
Okay.
You always got to really double check. I asked if we could hunt maybe like this other 6-acre piece it's on the same block of ground, but I'll ask him. But yeah, that's why I said, man, we're so blessed to run this podcast because you start talking about that, and then in my mind, just like the listeners, I bet they're running through.
You always have that one thing you can like super relate it to, and it's like right to you.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh,
this guy's talking right to me right now. I'm such a dumbass. So I haven't been doing this. Like Chaos is probably down there with the doe, just chilling. It's like, man, these two young punks up here think they're gonna kill me. They ain't got a chance. I'm like 500 yards away. That fence line's prime. Everything's prime right there. Yeah.
Overlooking it.
Yep.
That's why, you gotta try to pick up information from anybody and anything you can. Like, I talk to every single farmer around. Like, if I come across them at the gas station or coffee shop or breakfast place, like, I'll ask them, hey, you seen any big deer around? You seen any deer around? Like, even if you can't even hunt anywhere near them, if they're telling you like where they're seeing them at, like, you can kind of like take that piece of information and apply it to the piece of ground you're hunting at. Like, oh yeah, I saw them over. I saw this giant over by this lake piece that's got some timber on it. And I got a lake in the middle of a pond in the middle of my farm that's got a little patch of timber on it. That's where I started learning this stuff. At was just talking to actually people that had no background in hunting whatsoever, but they see the deer all the time. They're around them all the time, and the deer just kind of let the farmers drive right past them, and they get the best views and the best knowledge of what's going on the ground. And if you can take that and apply it to what you're doing, it kind of works.
That is another good tip because farmers don't like to hunt for some reason.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if every farmer hunted? There'd be no ground. You couldn't get any ground anywhere. If every farmer was a big buck hunter, we'd be screwed, bro.
They're nuisance.
Yeah.
The guy, one of the guys that I hunt on, like, I've killed a couple of my biggest bucks off of. Like, I've driven them by their house and like to show them, and like, to me, they're a world-class deer. To him, it's just like nothing more than if I'd have showed him a half a limit of squirrels.
Yeah, that's true. I know. I talked to a lot of.
Yeah, I've seen him 10 or 15 times. I drive my truck right past him to feed the cows every morning.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of people, and they're like, I seen a big deer. I'm like, how big? I seen a big deer. How big? Like my wife's grandpa. Oh, yeah, I seen a big. I'm like, how big was he? Oh, he's an 8-pointer.
Yeah, he's a good 8-pointer.
I'm like, how big of an 8-pointer was he? Like, was he really big? Or
like a 1960s 8-pointer?
You get a little bit of details out of the farmer, but he's not going to be like, he's 17 points. He's a little heavier on the right side. He's not, you ain't going to get that many details. But
I'll usually gauge it by how if like a farmer gets excited about how big a deer was.
Yeah, it's big.
You can pretty much just set your clock by it that he's going to be a giant.
Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, he's biggest I've ever seen. That's probably a pretty good sign.
And there she goes.
All right, we're back. We had a brief phone interruption because Verizon has shit service, and we lost him.
And your phone bill's like $30 a month.
Yeah, I have a prepaid phone bill. I don't know why anybody's paying Verizon the big dollar money when they can have this legit. If I talk to homie on the way home from work, I lose him at least 3 times. There's at least 3 spots. But I'm just cheap, man. I just like stuff that works that's cheap. That's why I drive an 08
I
pickup.
think I may have found the tip of the century there. Switched to Verizon, $30 service.
Yeah.
Dude. Cody's got it nailed down. He can send you over the details.
I can send you over the deets, man. Me and my wife together, $65.
Absolute
Solid
garbage.
Oh man,
Solid
that's
deal.
like an extra 2 or 3 trail cameras a month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying.
I was
Like,
gonna say we've been doing this for 2.5 years, and about a year and a half in, I was like, "Why in the hell are we even using
why
your
are we using
shitty
my
phone
phone?
to call all these guys?"
I don't know, man. You got to have that connector for you phone. You got that
I know.
high dollar one. I'm still using. I don't have to have the plug-in
Right?
iPhone to this headphone jack. I got the old school head. I got like a 6. What are they on? Like a 13 now?
Or 10's
10?
out.
Yeah. So man, yeah, I'm way back in there. But all right, let's get back on. We're way off course here. But anyways, yeah. So yeah. I don't even know what it is. Net 10 wireless or something. If you're looking for a cheap plan, get the PurePay Verizon one. Save you some money for trail cams. All right, man. Well, let the people and the listeners know where they can watch this hunt and some of your previous hunts, because, like I said, you got some absolute giants that you filmed.
Yeah, man. You can check out most of my hunts on Team Radical's YouTube page. The Hunt for Thumper's on there from last year. Got a bunch of turkey hunts. Filmed a bow hunt in 2018. Got my girlfriend's big 9-pointer, and her sister killed a 9.5-year-old 6-pointer during the youth season that we didn't believe would be legal for us to kill. Like, huge body, biggest body deer I've ever seen. It's on there too. So yeah, I think we've got some great content. Kyle, I guess the leader of our clan, he killed a 196-inch buck called Uno. Huge brow tines, like 13-inch brow tines. Probably have seen him. He's a freaking mega
Yeah, I don't
guy.
know anybody that hasn't seen that. I've seen that YouTube video, you know what I mean? So,
Dude, that deer is like if there's a legend of the woods, that is him.
he is tall.
Like
a
that.
lot of brows.
Like,
I'm a
he had,
brow
like,
guy, too.
6 years of history. Oh yeah, brow time to get a deer shot quick.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we have some pretty cool content out there. I've got 2 or 3 turkey hunts right now that I'm trying to crank out, get sent out to be put up on YouTube. So anyway, yeah, if you check that stuff out, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoy it. That's a
Pretty
great
good
page.
information
Team
to it.
Radical, I've watched quite a bit of the stuff. When I seen that on there, I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna be able to watch, most of these hunts. So I appreciate you coming on,
Yeah.
man. I think this was a good legend and, just big buck tactics. I think that's what we'll name this, just big buck tactics with Sean and another legend to not overlook those small spots.
Yeah.
And, we say it a lot
Yeah,
on
man,
here,
that's
but it goes back to time and stand and hard work and being where the deer are. Like, that's how you kill these giant deer.
Yeah. If you got an extra trail camera, put it in your grandma's yard or wherever the heck you can put it. I mean, you never know where a giant's going to show up. I mean, if you don't have one on your farm, you may as well try to find one somewhere else.
Yeah, that 3-acre timber that's behind your buddy's house,
Probably fire.
probably fire.
You get a 12-pack lease.
Yeah, heck yeah. Be like, what do you like, hams? I got you.
Yeah, why are we drinking that?
Yeah. Mowed my neighbor's yard, brought me over a case of hams. I'm like, well, I'm going to have this about 6 years.
Not just like a 12-pack, a whole
A
rack.
case, yeah. Okay. Like, yeah, that's...
I don't even know where special Amazon?
Yeah, I don't know where you're going to get that stuff, but all right, man, we appreciate you coming on. It's been a great episode.
Yeah, well, good luck for the rest of your turkey season. Hopefully it improves.
I was say we're gonna need it.
All right, man, here comes another...
I hope that's on the beginning of that. Hey.
This is the outro.
Yes. We got music.
We got music. We're finally getting our shit together on this show.
Yes.
You get through a real solid episode. You get right back to just us. The quality
Dog
just
shit.
goes right down the drain. Well, okay. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that legend episode. I really like the big buck breakdown in this one. A lot of good tactics. Got us thinking about a couple key spots that we're going to key on. that was terrible. A couple key spots we're gonna key on.
Yes.
All right, well, get out there, leave a legacy. Do better talking than I do, and Whitetail Legacy's out.